Let's take a second to talk about the oral glucose tolerance test, and why fruit juice is likely not an indicative alternative. The oral glucose tolerance test is a glucose solution given to mothers to test their risk of diabetes or gestational diabetes. They are given a distinct solution measured afterwards. If their blood glucose remains elevated, it indicates that they have decreased glucose tolerance, indicating they have either diabetes or gestational diabetes, which does have an extreme potential to harm the infant. To do so, they are given 50 grams of a glucose solution, dissolved in a distinct amount of water. The reason why grape juice is not an indicative alternative is because grape juice contains more fructose than glucose. Glucose has a glycemic index of approximately 100, whereas fructose has a glycemic index of only 20. The glycemic index is a measurement of how rapidly glucose enters the bloodstream after consuming a specific beverage. The glycemic response to these two beverages may look drastically different, meaning it's exceptionally difficult and likely inaccurate to get an accurate measurement of someone's glucose tolerance. Grape juice also contains an abundance of polyphenols, which also have the capacity to lower one's glycemic response. And fructose, especially fructose from fruit juices, is actually tolerated far better by those with diabetes than glucose and other high glycemic carbohydrates. This is because before being released in the bloodstream, fructose is metabolized almost entirely in the liver, in which only between 30 and 50% is actually released into the bloodstream as glucose. 10 to 15% is stored as glycogen, 25% is actually released into circulation as a different molecule called lactate, and between 1 and 10% is released into the bloodstream or stored in the liver as triglycerides, explaining why the glycemic index of grape juice is only 48, but the glycemic index of the oral glucose tolerance test would be approximately 100. Thus, despite it feeling better for you, replacing the oral glucose tolerance test with grape juice likely is not accurate to pick up on diabetes or gestational diabetes. There are alternatives to the oral glucose tolerance test which you can discuss with your doctor, but doing an at-home test with fruit juices is likely not an indicative or sensitive alternative. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.